The Great Sneeze Disaster. Mildred Wimpleton was the kind of librarian who had perfected the art of invisibility. She wore soft cardigans in muted colors, spoke in hushed tones, and carried around a notebook where she jotted down words no one ever heard. The Dewey Decimal System was her kingdom, and she ruled it with silent grace. Mildred's daily mission was to keep her nose clear of dust and pollen, and especially avoid sneezing. For Mildred's sneezes were legendary in ways no one could have predicted. It all began on an ordinary Tuesday morning at the Maplewood Public Library, a place so quiet that even the mice wore slippers. Mildred was shelving a batch of encyclopedias when a tiny tickle crept into her nostrils. "Not now," she whispered to herself, pressing a finger beneath her nose. But the tickle grew stronger. Her eyes twitched. She sniffled discreetly and hoped the tickle would pass. It didn't. Suddenly a tremor rippled through her body. Mildred's knees wobbled. She gripped the nearest shelf, which was loaded with fragile historical maps. The tickle was now a full-blown tempest inside her sinuses. She pinched her nose, held her breath, and even tried to hum, but nothing worked. Then came the sneeze. It blasted forth with the force of a jet engine. Achoo! The entire library trembled. A stack of books shot off the shelves like cannonballs. The ancient globe spun wildly and crashed into a display of rare first editions. Mildred's cardigan ballooned like a parachute. Librarians from the nearby towns miles away reported feeling a sudden gust and hearing a strange ha-choo echo. But the chaos had only just begun. Outside, the town of Maplewood was just waking up. Birds were chirping, the baker was arranging donuts, and old Mr. Haggerty was polishing his prized collection of antique hats. Mildred's sneeze, carried by an unseen wind, swept through Main Street like a cyclone. The hats of Maplewood's citizens took flight. Top hats soared over the police station. Bowler hats spun through the air, and sun hats flew off like frisbees into the sky. Mrs. Pendergast, who was known for her extravagant feathered hat, chased after it as it spiraled above the town square. She shrieked, flapping her parasol like a bird trying to catch her lost crown. Meanwhile, Mr. Haggerty's prized derby hat was nowhere to be found. "By the Queen's crumpets, my hat!" he wailed, waving his hands at the empty hat stand. A gaggle of schoolchildren laughed as their baseball caps swirled in a tornado of brimmed chaos. The town's pigeons, utterly confused by this sudden hat storm, took flight in protest, their coos sounding suspiciously like, "What is going on?" In the town square stood a grand statue of Maplewood's founder, Sir Reginald Maplewood, holding a giant book, naturally. The statue had stood proudly for over a century, weathering rain, snow, and teenage graffiti. But the Great Sneeze Disaster was about to test its resilience. As the powerful sneeze gust swept past, it buffeted the statue like a rowdy child at a birthday party. First, the statue's monocle flew off, clinking on the cobblestone. Then, the book slipped from its stone hands and landed open on the pavement, revealing an engraving that read, "Beware the power of unexpected sneezes." A collective gasp rose from the crowd. With a mighty groan, or what sounded like one for stone, Sir Reginald tipped forward, just slightly. "Don't fall! Don't fall!" the mayor shouted. The statue teetered on its pedestal like a giant stony domino. Then clank! It landed on a conveniently placed wheelbarrow full of pumpkins. The pumpkins exploded in a vibrant orange mess, and the statue rested at a jaunty angle, looking more like a tired tourist than a noble founder. The crowd cheered wildly, thinking this was a planned artistic installation. The town was preparing for its annual Maplewood Harvest Festival. Colorful floats lined the streets, adorned with pumpkins, scarecrows, and hay bales. One particularly elaborate float featured a giant mechanical turkey, feathers painted in shimmering gold. Mildred's next sneeze gust roared through the streets like a hurricane. The float's decorations rattled. The turkey's mechanical head spun wildly. Then, something unbelievable happened. The entire float, engines humming, was swept off the ground. Mrs. Dillinger, the float's captain, clung desperately to the reins. "Hold on to your hats, we're airborne!" With a screech of wheels, the float launched into the sky like a rocket, propelled by the aftershock of Mildred's sneeze. Neighbors watched in stunned silence as the turkey float soared higher and higher, passing birds, a passing drone, and even a confused hot air balloon. Children pointed upward. "Look, the turkey's flying!" Above the treetops, the float circled the town. Once, twice, then 3 times, trailing pumpkin seeds and hay like festive confetti. Finally, it landed, somewhat gently, on the roof of the town's library. Mildred's heart skipped a beat. Oh no, not the library! The aftermath and apology tour. The townsfolk gathered to assess the damage, or lack thereof. Hats were retrieved, slightly wrinkled but still wearable. The statue was given a new nickname, Sir Reginald the Relaxed, and the turkey float became a permanent rooftop attraction, doubling as a local landmark. Mayor Tibbles declared, "Well, Mildred, it seems your sneeze has put Maplewood on the map. Next year's festival will be unforgettable." Mildred blushed, hiding behind a tower of overdue books. I'm so sorry," she murmured. "I didn't mean for any of this to happen." "Not to worry," said Mr. Haggerty, donning his repaired derby hat. "If your sneeze ever threatens the town again, just give us a warning, or maybe a tissue." Mildred smiled shyly. From that day forward, the librarian known for her quiet grace was also famous for her mighty sneeze. And whenever someone in Maplewood felt the tickle of a sneeze, they'd shout, "Brace yourselves, the great sneeze disaster might be coming." If you liked the story, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and we will see you in the next one. Goodbye.